Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 184 of a year of change. Today I want to talk about something that sort of revisiting something I said last week and yesterday. And it's something that I think we're not really at a real risk for, but it's something that I think that we should address. Last week I had a really rough week for the first 2 or 3 days. And I wasn't eating properly and, didn't have a good balance going on. Pretty much just ate really sort of high carb, high fat foods for a bit. I wasn't really feeling that great, so I didn't really stick with things that like I should have. And then during the latter part of the week, I sort of got back on track and got down a bit and sort of undid some of the damage that I did. I still gained by the end of it, but it wasn't. It was less than a pound, so I don't feel quite as bad as I would have. But I didn't sort of want to put forward the idea that I made up for lost time, so to speak. That all right, until Wednesday I was eating really shitty, and then starting Thursday I just overdid it and dropped all the weight as quickly as I could. Because that's not really what happened. I just got back on track. I started tracking my food properly, started eating more fruits and vegetables, and sort of rebalancing my diet, as it were. And that's something that I think that there is a bit of a risk for. For a lot of us, I mean, we still have the risk of overeating. We still have the risk of eating junk food. But there is that aspect that once you start in on a program, whether it's just readjusting our diet or, paying closer attention to the salt and the fat content or exercising, whatever it is, there is that risk that we are going to sort of go overboard. And although it's good to want to increase the amount of exercise that you do or to, go sort of skip ahead and look at adjusting your protein levels and fiber and fat and all that stuff, there is that risk of going a little too far overboard and trying to lose the weight faster than we are right now. And the reason why we're losing so little weight during the week, usually it's between 1 and 2 pounds, that's our goal anyway, is that it's a healthy weight loss. Because the main thing that we're trying to do is to get healthier. So we're slowly increasing the amount of exercise that we do. We're slowly improving that. We're adjusting our diet so that we're eating healthily now. And the weight loss is sort of a part of that. So it's almost secondary to what we've been trying to do. A lot of this is the main goal is to lose the weight long term, but in order to do that effectively, we needed to basically change our life and get to a point where we're eating properly, we're doing regular exercise, and the weight loss will come as part of that. But I didn't want to sort of put out there that, I had done something different during the week, that, I stopped eating or I doubled the amount of exercise. As we progress, we are going to be increasing the exercise just naturally. You've probably done this already. You're probably not doing the same thing that you were doing 6 weeks ago because it's not doing anything for you. So you needed to sort of adjust and increase it a little bit by little bit, which is fine. But there is that risk that we have of, okay, well, now I'm going to start doing this every day and I'm going to double the amount of exercise that I'm doing, but I'm also going to cut back on the number of calories that I'm eating. And we really don't want to do that. A few months before I actually started doing videos, I did something that at the time was sort of it was more of an experiment for me than anything else. And we've all had days where whether you're busy or you aren't feeling well or something, where it dawns on you near the end of the day that you really haven't eaten anything. And on one of these days, that's what happened. It was late in the evening, and I think I was just busy. And I realized I hadn't eaten anything since the time I got up. I had just had water throughout the day. So I thought, okay, well, I know I can go a full day. I'll just see if I can go the rest of the day, which I ended up doing. So I had a full day where I didn't have any solid food whatsoever. And then I went, I'm going to try to do this again to see how long I can actually go. Because my big problem was, and still is really, overeating. So just eating when I'm not hungry, and if I'm the slightest bit hungry, then I binge and everything else. So I wanted to see how far I could go just to sort of readjust that so that I can look at it and say, okay, you're not going to die if you're hungry for an hour. You should be fine. In the long run, I ended up going 5 full days without any food at all. It was just water, and that's all I had for 5 full days. And yes, obviously I lost weight. I wasn't feeling great, and by the end of the 5th day, I went, okay, no, I'm gonna have something else, and I think I started with coffee or something. And then just the next day, I just ate normally. For me, which would have been probably a binge eating. But I mean, at the time, it was after the first or second day, I was like, I just want to see how far I can go. I do not recommend doing this, by the way. It's not very healthy, and it goes against what we're trying to do. We're trying to get to a spot where we're normal, and I see that the same way that I would see either the keto diet or Atkins or paleo diet or any of those. It's obviously not something that we can sustain. It's not healthy, and yes, your body goes into a bit of a shock and just goes, okay, I got to do something. So it starts burning fat and everything else. But I have no idea what other shit was going on during that time frame that was damaging my body. So, although binge eating is damaging as well, but we're going to sort of stay on topic with this one. So, I mean, we have talked about eating disorders as well in the past. Mainly it's sort of the ones that we have, eating too much or eating the wrong kinds of foods or making excuses for ourselves why we can't eat salad, which I think is sort of not a severe one, obviously. But if you're lying to yourself to say, oh, no, it's disgusting, I can't eat that, and, I have a reaction to tomatoes or something. If you're averse to eating regular fruits and vegetables, then yes, I mean, that's sort of part of that. But there is that risk of when we first start out, and we've all seen it where people, when they start getting fit, I guess, for lack of a better term, that they really go overboard and they do too much. There's The Biggest Loser is based on that TV show, which admittedly I've never seen an episode. I've seen snippets of little stories and entertainment news stories and things like that, and inevitably they have one person that they lost far too much. The Biggest Loser is based on them working out 5 or 6 hours a day, nonstop, cutting their calories down to 400 or 500 calories a day, and so it's not realistic. So for those of you that are out there watching it going, oh, I could totally do that, it's not realistic. It's not sustainable. It's not something that we're ever going to be able to continue to do. Obviously, it works for some people. But we've all seen it where there's someone that has just gone a little too far with that. They've lost too much too soon. Not just aesthetically, not just that they look weird, but obviously it's not healthy for them. And I didn't want to put forward the idea that maybe that's what I did last week, that I just sort of stopped eating and doubled the exercise or anything else. I didn't. I kept exercising throughout the week anyway. It's just I stopped eating all the crap and started eating properly. And it just sort of readjusted itself, which is why I didn't actually lose by the end of it. But I got back on track. And that's one thing that I really want to put out there, that if you're looking at this, it's fine if you want to increase the amount of exercise that you're doing. If MyFitnessPal is telling you that you need to drop some calories down, like another increment or whatever, because of your weight, it's going to do that automatically. But by the end of the day, you shouldn't be leaving by saying, oh, well, I've had 800 calories for the day, I'm okay. That means you're not eating enough, which means that you're not eating properly, you're not eating healthy, and it needs to be adjusted. So whether it's, increasing the amount of protein that you need, or carbohydrates or fat, or whatever it is, when you go in to take a look at the percentage of your macros, something like that, you need to make sure that that's still balanced. That's the main goal, is that it's fine later on down the road if you want to say, okay, well, because I'm doing this, if you've learned more and said, okay, I want to start bodybuilding, so I need to adjust protein or carbohydrates or whatever it is, that's fine at that stage. But right now, we need to make sure that we're getting what we need, and ideally from the best sources, like for fat, like fish and nuts and vegetables and stuff like that. The main thing, because we aren't at a stage yet where I feel that we can really do that, where we can say, okay, well, now I'm going to cut this out and I'm going to double this and everything's still going to be fine. Because although 6 months is a long time, we're still at a stage, I feel anyway, I am anyway, where it's still very easy to go back to where we were. And again, if we jump ahead, we may sort of fall back and just say it was too much too soon. But more dangerously than that, I feel, is the risk that if you do sort of go a little too far and you do too much too soon, that you are going to stick with it. And aside from burning out, it's going to be very unhealthy. And I mean, in the long term, then we may get there. We might be able to do that someday where we're doing twice the amount of exercise that we're doing now. We're eating far fewer calories. Our protein levels have adjusted. Our fat levels have adjusted. But for now, for what we're trying to do and for what we're trying to achieve, I think it's best that we sort of stay on target the way that we are and maintain that healthy, balanced diet. So it's just one of those things that I wanted to sort of bring up because I've seen it before where people start dieting and they just go so far overboard and they just look horrible by the end of it. They obviously are not healthy. There are some that can lose a tremendous amount of weight very quickly and are still healthy. I'm not saying that you can't. All I'm saying is that I've seen too many people that have tried that and they get really, really unhealthy. And that's why they're losing weight is pretty much because they're sick. And the amount of exercise that we're doing, I mean, you can always increase that. It's not going to really harm too much as long as you're adjusting your diet to accommodate it so that if you're burning 5,000 or 6,000 calories a day, don't cut back on your calories either. Make sure that you're still maintaining a healthy amount of calories. We have the excess weight that we can obviously burn off. So I'm not really concerned by saying, well, if you exercise for 5,000 calories, then make sure that you're eating 4,000 or 5,000 calories. I don't think we need to do that. As long as the balance is there, and we're eating a healthy, say, 1,800 or 2,000 calorie diet a day, whatever it is that you're set to for MyFitnessPal. As long as you're still maintaining that, then I think we're okay. We're going to be in a good place. It's very easy to sort of get carried away, and especially when we see changes starting and just knowing it's not happening fast enough. And when you get to that point, obviously, when you don't like what you see, that's when you start getting into the really severe eating disorders and, just going way too far. And I really don't want that for us. Anyway, that's all it really was. Just sort of wanted to clarify that. Very bad story to share with you, but that's sort of part of what we're doing here as well. But I did want to share that it wasn't, I didn't want to sort of put forward the idea that, well, why are you doing this? You're not sticking with what you're trying to do. I haven't been sticking with it when I'm doing bad things, but I'm not going to try to overcompensate and go on a crash diet for 3 days to try to get back to where I was. I knew I was going to be gaining. It'll show you actually the amount of damage that can be done in a very short amount of time with eating junk food and not tracking, tracking I was, but not eating properly, not eating the fruits and vegetables. And then you can see, how quickly you can come back to where you need to be in a matter of 2 or 3 days just by starting to eat properly again, which is a good sign. It means that our bodies are sort of adjusted to that now. And as long as we maintain that, then I think we're going to do okay. So we'll keep on going for the time being. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. In the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.